Welcome to Greenwood's Vanilla Scoops, where Greenwood shows me and you regular Quake 1 maps you may have missed. What scoop do you have for us today?
Okay, so the next vanilla scoop I have is from a Roger Ace Staines, and the map title is called Elsinore. It came out in 1997, and it's a medieval theme map. For easy and normal, it's 63 enemies, and on hard, it's 65 enemies, and with a total of 4 secrets. So again, it's a medieval level. You start off, and if I actually pull up the actual Elsinore map, he actually has a story on this one here. He actually based it when he was having a discussion with one of his buddies on the setting is Shakespeare's Hamlet. So he said on the story that even though he's not really fond of Quake stories, this is basically the layout. You arrive back at Elsinore Castle, your home, to find out that your sleazy uncle Claudius has bumped off your father, who was the king of Denmark, stolen the throne, and named himself king. The sleazebag then married your widowed mother and made her queen again, and et cetera, et cetera. You know, your beloved Ophelia has gone completely loopy, and Polonius is an absolute, let's just say, jerk. So you have to, if you see him somewhere in the castle, kill him twice. So basically, you're in a castle environment, and your mission, he had at the end of the story, just the way I'm sure William, parenthetical element Shakespeare, had originally planned it, to kill or not to kill, there is no question, was the story that he had on there. So you're in a medieval setup, and again, it's not it's like a medium sized, small to me, I say medium sized map, and your mission is to basically kill all the baddies and gain entrance into the castle.
That sounds like a familiar storyline.
yeah, it's not exactly gigantic on originality, because there's plenty of maps like it, but I mean, heck, if it ain't broke, why fix it, right?
Right, exactly.
But what's really cool about this map, Roger Staines did a lot of mapping. Actually, he has several maps that are on Quadicted. When I said Roger Ace Staines, a lot of his early maps are just literally under the moniker Ace, ACE, Ace. And there's some really neat maps that he has. Like I actually found an interview that he had on the web archives for Quake Map magazine that's buried in Quadicted. That he said that his personal favorite was a map that he did called Quake Combat School, which I played through as well when I was waiting for the recording to get, for you to get the recording set up. And that was pretty darn neat too. But this Elsinore, what's really neat about this map, which I'm sure, since you played it, you might agree with, is it's very inventive. There's a lot of really use of really, cool mechanics, good verticality, and just very, interesting little, it's just very well done. And some interesting texture effects. I'm sure you noticed, in the one part later in the map where there was some broken stained glass ceiling pieces, some fine art on the walls, and the part at the end with the whole reveal of the castle facade was pretty darn neat. I don't think I've ever seen something quite like that in other maps, especially one from back in '97.
Yeah, it's funny too, because that gave me an idea. Well, let's put it this way. I had an idea earlier in the day. I was doing other Quake related things, and I had an idea. I'm like, hey, this would be, I'm not going to give it away, but this would be a cool thing to do in a map, And then I played this, and I'm like, oh, he kind of did something similar to what I was thinking about. So kind of fun. Yeah, a lot of cool moving parts and really nice. You know, like you say, vertical combat. A lot of attention to detail. I will say I've got some negative things about it, but I didn't want to cut you off there if you're still got some more goods to give us.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like you were starting to mention some, again, good attention to detail. Like when you go into if you drop into some of the underwater bits in the map, there'll be, a sunken brick.
Hmm.
A lot, very good use of button mechanics. Like you push a button here, a stairwell will drop down. One thing that he mentioned in the article that I found, as far as inspiration, he says I usually strive for something different and unique for the player. Whenever he does a map, he wants his levels to be different and have elements in it that have never been tried before. He said for inspiration, he said for example, the concept for Elsinore came from a conversation about Shakespeare. The Fiend Hall flags in that in this map Elsinore were inspired by an old Unreal screenshot. Um, so he was always trying. He was always very down for for experimentation to strive to do something new and creative in his maps, as you can kind of tell by this level. Some of his other maps, for those out there that if you want to try some other works by Roger, aka Ace, there was one map in particular that I thought was pretty neat called the Temple of the Secret Society. That's also a 97 map under his name Ace. And what was really cool about that map was there was one part where actually you had a ceiling underwater level, if you can imagine. It's like an upside down underwater level that
So
was
like the Poseidon adventure kind of thing.
it's
That's
it's
cool.
really it's really bizarre because it's almost like a reverse gravity type deal.
Nice.
Um, he just does some really neat stuff. Um, but what were you gonna say about some dings that you thought of or something?
Yeah, I gotta say, just gameplay wise, it's a really fun map, and it's definitely uh, worth people's time and everything. So some of my observations were there was a lot of fun moving brushes and different kind of things that pop open and kind of reveal themselves, and they're done really well. Um, but I will say, and this can be forgiven because the map is from 1997, and flat out the tools were so primitive compared to what we have today. But there was just some really good examples of bad texturing, texture alignment, misalignment, stretched things. It's one of those things like if you're a new mapper, play the map and try to spot them, because if you can spot bad texturing, then it's going to help you in your mapping. So I don't want to say across the board it was bad. There's just some here and there. It's like, ooh, ouch, that looks bad. And then there's um, there's just one section. I don't want to give it away, but there's some wooden stairs that kind of are near lava, and that wouldn't really work in the real world. Although I'm usually not a stickler for that stuff because it's Quake and it's fantasy, but this one's pretty glaring. It's like, I wouldn't have chosen that texture for that. Um, but then the one thing I thought was really fun and innovative was every time you hear a secret sound, there's a monster back spawning. Or I could be wrong about every time, but it definitely, if you hear a bring, like, watch out, there's monsters coming. I thought that was a fun communication with the player that I haven't really seen or heard a lot of.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so if your biggest thing is texture stuff,
No, yeah, that's it.
that's really. I mean, if you ask me, I thought gameplay is always like a big thing for me,
No,
and
that's the most important thing. Trust me.
yeah,
And
if
this one wins for gameplay for sure.
no, it's because there's even though it's what would I say, like 63 slash 65,
Yeah,
it'll still give you a good it'll still give you a nice little challenge. No, I know, like you said, if it, if that's the only thing, it's it's an old map and it's got some texture issues. That to me, that's pretty forgivable. I was gonna say the only thing that some people might notice is at the very end with the goal key door. Sometimes you might have to jump at it once or twice to get it to open. It might be a little bit of I noticed that with a playthrough here and there, and I noticed that RC did a playthrough of the map before, where it's it's a little hinky issue. It's probably just a location of a trigger, what have you, and that's one thing I noticed. That some people might be like, "What the heck? Why won't the door open?" And then you go back and you just you jump up another time, and then all of a sudden, open sesame, no problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that was it. That's what I consider the best vanilla map for Roger Staines. Elsinore, 1997. Really fun map, very inventive. One other thing I wanted to note was, you know how I talked about people from different regions, different neck of the woods. Roger hails from Canada. He just outside of Toronto. He comes from a small town called Ajax.
Nice.
So now we got a Canuck in the mix. And also, Roger was very, very prolific. He did some mapping for a Doom mod called HackX. If you ever remember that one.
Never heard. I don't remember that one.
And he also did quite a few maps for Quake. He got really, he was, again, very prolific. He did quite a few Quake 2 maps. So if you like Elsinore, check out other maps that he had under the name Ace. And also, if you play Quake 2, you might want to check out his Quake 2 maps. And there you go. So that's my pick for Roger Ace Staines. That's Elsinore from 1997.
That's it for Greenwood's Vanilla Scoops. Thanks for hanging in there. We'll see you in the next video.